Good morning, Westminster Presbyterian. It's so good to be with you here this morning, even if we are not together in person. I'm delighted to be a part of this sermon series. There are so many things I love about this. I love traveling, I love mission, and I love God. I hope to be able to use this time together to speak a little bit about my work in the world, which is called mission, and which lives in me as a humble privilege. Some of you might remember that years ago, only 8 actually, I was a reporter and later an editor at a local newspaper. That career spanned more than 2 decades, and I learned so much about storytelling, lifting others' voices, and traveling far out of my comfort zone. Turns out that was the perfect training ground for my work as a mission coworker. Whether it is for a week or a lifetime, stepping into the mission field will surprise you. And here are a few things that surprised me. First of all, age is not a factor. I was 50 when I was called into service. During orientation in Louisville, I was the median age. In other words, half the other mission co-workers were younger than me, and half were older. I was surprised how learning a new language and a culture took so much time and energy, but boy was it fun. It still is. It truly adds so much to your mission experience, being able to communicate with the people you're accompanying. I was so surprised that poverty is just hard. We so often go into the mission field to accompany those who are on the margins, and we know that we will expect to see people who are suffering. But when you step off that well-worn path and you see the living conditions that others deal with, it's simply going to change your life. Your appreciation for the smallest luxury will skyrocket. You'll pray more fervently, you'll love less conditionally, and you will find a hunger for learning, while some of us have so much, and so many more of us have so little. You're going to learn that you can do hard things, much harder than you've ever imagined. And similarly, your comfort zone, as it turns out, is elastic. What once scared me to death is now old hat. For example, driving in Haiti is an extreme sport. And this includes riding in a vehicle, on the streets, in the cities, on the roads, traveling out into the countryside. I'm often asked, do they drive on the left or the right in Haiti? And the answer is yes. I once caught myself seizing up when a vehicle 3 times the size of the pickup I was in was headed toward us at breakneck speed. A nanosecond later, I was astonished at the ease in which the driver, who was a dear friend of mine, turned the wheel without slowing down. Our vehicles passed, and we continued on the road. My friend Luke winked at me, and that was all I needed. Oh, and I can pray really, really, really quickly, too. This is always a surprise to me. The food in the poorest places are the best. It doesn't make much sense, does it? I'm not sure I understand it. I know that the people in Haiti often go without a meal. I know that families with children will put aside money for education ahead of what they have for the market. And yet, when they eat, it's simple and it's glorious. It's tasty and it's always prepared with love. I encourage you, next time you travel in mission, especially in a foreign country, give up the Cliff Bars that you have in your backpack and try the local food. Just try it. My favorite meal in Haiti? Bread soup. Yes, it's bread. It's boiled together with spices and leaves, and it's served hot. It's prepared over a fire outside. Bread soup is where it's at. My second favorite meal I've had? A cool avocado, warm bread, and hot coffee. I once sat down for a breakfast at one of the organization office and guest houses where I was traveling. On the table were bread, local peanut butter, fresh mango, fresh pineapple, and a thermos of hot coffee. And this has been a really hard trip. It was early on in my time in Haiti, and it was well into the 90s every day. I was with a colleague and many of our Haitian partners, and we had hiked up mountains to visit partner families. By the time I got back to the office the afternoon before, I had bathed in an outdoor shower, eaten something, and fallen fast asleep, even in the heat. The next morning was beautifully cool. And here I sat at this amazing fresh breakfast. I just sat there. My friend Tiga walked by and asked why I wasn't eating yet. I said, I don't even know how to pray before this. And he chuckled and said, Oh, Cindy, dis merci, bon Dieu, merci. He said, just say thank you, God. Thank you. And I did, and I ate, and I realized it's not just the food that's so good. It's the friendship. Trust doesn't come easily to people on the margins. This is a tough one to learn, but it's true. When we talk about mission being relational, we mean that relationships are more valuable than any and all of the, quote, good we think we are doing. In fact, our initial understanding, as those of us coming from the United States, many of us are middle class or above, is that we're in this work to do good. I thought that. I believed that going to Haiti or Summerlee or Cedar Rapids or even going to the Valley Mission was to bring our resources, the actual things, and receiving in return the friendship. Except that what we expected to receive, and in fact many times did receive, was gratitude, and that feels good. The problem that I began to understand after spending many painful conversations with other mission coworkers and some of our recipient partners is that gratitude is not our end game. A greater faith in God results, and that's lovely and wonderful. And man, my faith has grown exponentially since I first began in mission. But what brings me the greatest satisfaction is when my friends are experiencing a better life because we've been together. When they are able to feed their families with greater ease. When they tell me of their dreams of the future. Because when you live on the margins, dreaming is a luxury. Only when I begin to see the fruits of our combined labor grow and mature and provide seeds for a larger garden do I feel that I've ever done anything. And very often, I've not done much. I've just walked alongside. And a greater, more paradoxical satisfaction comes when our friends on the margins tell me I'm doing it wrong. Yeah, I said it. When my friends in Haiti pull me aside and say, Cindy, you could have done that better, I know they trust me. They believe in me like I want to believe in them. They are taking some of their fast evaporating energy to teach me, to bring me up in the way of the Lord. What a joy, even if that's painful at the time. Another surprise is that you will never understand something until you wait and watch it play out. You will begin to understand, but you have to pay attention and trust that our local partners, our friends in the country, in the place where we are serving, know a whole lot more than we ever can. On my first trip to Haiti, 5 months after the 2010 earthquake, I'd already begun learning Creole. I'd read every book, article, watched every website and movie I could find about Haiti. I knew some stuff. After waiting at a small restaurant that was not far from the airport for another group to come in and join us, we finally got into vehicles and we were going over Mont Cabouit, which is Goat Mountain, to Inche, where we were going to spend our week. It's a beautiful road, especially back then. It was brand new. International funds had provided for wide, well-paved roads across the 5 mountains we would cross. Think of the Blue Ridge Parkway with more twists and turns and ups and downs. There was a drainage ditch alongside this beautiful road, and most of it was finished, but parts of it weren't. It had been made out of rocks that were laid out as a gully for rainwater. Where it wasn't finished, there were large piles of rock about 4 feet tall and about as round, and they were just waiting. They'd been placed there waiting for workers to complete the ditch. Our driver's name was Nono. His English and my Creole were about equal, which is not much, and we'd communicated by pointing at different things like the beautiful views and nodding a lot. Then the sun went down. We were still about an hour from our destination, I figured. I was exhausted, and when I'm exhausted, I get grumpy. So when Nono slowed way down behind a small motorcycle, I was confused. There were plenty of opportunities on this wide road to pass the moto. There wasn't much traffic, but he wouldn't pass. We were going about 20 miles an hour on a beautiful road. The passenger on the back of the motorcycle kept turning around and motioning. He was as confused as I was, I figured. So I started asking Nono what the heck was going on. He tried to explain, but I didn't understand. I just figured he was making a big mistake and just wasting our time. We had places to be, and did I mention I was tired and cranky? Finally, our pickup cruised past the small motorcycle. The moto driver honked his horn with one small toot. Nono responded back in kind, honk, honk. And then Nono pointed to the side of the road. There were no more large piles of rock. The path was clear. When I looked back, the little motorcycle had no headlight. Had the moto driver not had Nono's lights to shine the path, they easily could have crashed into one of those piles of rock. You will feel deep pain in mission. I'm sure you know the situation in Haiti took an even greater step toward misery last week. President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated. He wasn't popular, and many people had said he wanted to be the country's next dictator. But the people are mourning his death. They worry because there is a power vacuum. They already are hungry and filled with anxiety, and this past week made it so much worse. These are people I love. These are my friends, my colleagues, my family. I feel their pain as if it is happening to me, because it is. There's a quote I often remember from the years before I went to Haiti in 2013. Dr. Paul Farmer, Olivia Dahl, and Dr. Jim Kim were the three people who began Partners in Health, an organization that provides medical care to the very poor in Haiti and now in other countries. The year before I left to go to Haiti, Dr. Jim Kim was in his first year as president of Dartmouth University. This was 2009. As president, he had asked the incoming freshmen to read Mountains Beyond Mountains, which is about how Partners of Health came about. And there was a forum for the freshman class. And in that forum, Kim shared this quote: "In order to be a good advocate for poor people, you have to put yourself in a situation where you allow your soul to be fractured by the suffering of the poor, to actually go out there and feel the pain, the suffering, and the injustice through your skin so deeply that when you go to tell people about it, they can smell the authenticity coming from you." That's the most persuasive of all. This is how I see mission. In order to do it well, in order to love kindness, in order to act with justice and walk humbly with God, you must fully engage with the people you meet. In order to love our neighbor, you must be able, at least in some way, to feel their pain. If you're going to tell their stories, and you must, they must be authentic. That's the only way I can truly feel the joy of being with, of walking alongside, of falling into relationships with the people around the world. I feel the pain, but I feel the victory, and I feel the joy. And the last part of traveling in justice is this: you will be changed. I know you've heard this one before, but I didn't see it coming. I had no idea I would constantly hunger to travel along with the jagged edge of our hurting world. I didn't know I would put aside daily comforts, air conditioning and a soft bed, to sleep on the hard cement floor of a Haitian school in the rare hot humidity of the Caribbean. I didn't know that understanding pain of our siblings endures us to seek justice for them. What did Micah say? To act with justice, to not only work with them to alleviate the pains we see, but to examine the why of the pain, to dig deeply, to eradicate misery at its root causes. I didn't know, but Micah tells us. Micah tells me that it's all the Lord that requires of us, so I will love kindness, I will act with justice, and I will walk humbly with my God. Because I can tell you the path God has put before me has delivered to me more than I ever could desire. And for you, thank you for all the ways you, individually and as Westminster Presbyterian, travel into the world with God, locally, globally. Thank you for generously and faithfully giving toward my support as a mission co-worker. And then in addition, to offer funds to help us grow gardens in Haiti. I wish you courage, I wish you joy, and I am grateful to have been able to be with you this day. Amen.